My name is Ilara Whitmore. I am 82 years old. For most of my life, people have called me a quiet woman, patient wife, a gentle grandmother, a woman who never raised her voice. But no one ever asked what I had seen. No one ever asked what I had endured. And no one ever imagined the secret that lived inside my own house for 35 years. It happened on the 5th day of every month. Always the same time. Always the same silence. That night, my hands were shaking so badly that I almost dropped my walking cane. I leaned toward the door, bent slowly, and I looked through the keyhole. What I saw made my heart stop. I fainted on the spot. Before we continue, if you love deep emotional stories about family, secrets, and powerful women who rise against silence, please subscribe to this channel. Like this story so more people can find it. Turn on the notification button so you never miss the next chapter. And tell me in the comments which part of the country you are watching from. I want to know where my family of listeners is coming from. Now let me take you back to how it all began. I met my husband, Rowan Hale, when I was 23 years old. Rowan was not the kind of man women chased. He was tall but quiet. He spoke slowly. He looked at people like he was always thinking of something far away. He worked as a mechanic in a small town in Oregon. I worked in the local library. Our town was small, the kind of place where everyone knew your name and your secrets traveled faster than your shadow. Rowan asked me out one afternoon while I was closing the library. "You look tired," he said softly. I laughed and told him books do not bite, but they do make you tired. He smiled. That smile changed my life. We got married 2 years later. His mother, Marjorie Hale, came to the wedding wearing black. Not gray. Not blue. Black. People whispered that she looked like she was attending a funeral, not a wedding. When I walked toward Rowan at the altar, I saw her eyes. They were not angry. They were not happy. They were empty. After the wedding, she hugged Rowan tightly but barely touched me. "Welcome to the family," she said. Her voice was cold. At first, I thought she was just a strict woman who loved her son too much. Many mothers are like that. I told myself I could win her heart with kindness. I was wrong. We moved into Rowan's childhood house after the wedding. It was an old wooden house at the edge of town, surrounded by tall pine trees. The walls creaked at night. The floors whispered when you walked on them. Marjorie lived with us. Her room was at the end of the hallway. Large door. Always locked. Rowan told me his mother valued privacy. "She does not like people touching her things," he said. He nodded. I respected that. But then I noticed something strange. On the 5th day of every month, Rowan changed. On those days, he woke up earlier than usual. He barely ate breakfast. He avoided my eyes. And when the clock hit exactly 7 in the evening, he walked down the hallway and knocked on his mother's door. She opened it just enough for him to slip inside. Then the door closed. Every time. At first I thought nothing of it. Maybe they talked about family matters. Maybe she was sick. Maybe he was helping her with something private. But hours passed. Sometimes he stayed there for 3 hours. Sometimes 4. No sound. No laughter. No arguments. Just silence. When he came out, his face looked different. Not tired. Not angry. Like someone who had left part of himself in that room. One night I asked him, "Rowan, what do you and your mother talk about every month?" He froze. For a moment he did not breathe. Then he smiled gently and touched my hand. "Just family history, Ilara. Old stories. Things that do not matter anymore." But his hand was cold. Years passed. We had children. 2 sons and a daughter. Life moved forward. I cooked. Cleaned. I worked part-time at the library. I attended school events. I smiled at neighbors. I played the role of a perfect wife. But the 5th day of every month never changed. No matter what happened. When our first son was born, Rowan still went into that room. When our daughter had pneumonia and almost died, Rowan still went into that room. When I lost my own mother and cried for days, Rowan still went into that room. I started counting. 1 year. 5 years. 10 years. 35 years. Every 5th day. Sometimes I stood in the hallway and listened. Nothing. Sometimes I pressed my ear against the door. Nothing. Sometimes I knocked. No answer. Once I tried to open the door. It was locked from inside. And Rowan never talked about it. Our marriage slowly changed. He became distant. He stopped touching me the way he used to. He stopped looking into my eyes. We became two strangers living in the same house. Our children grew up and left. The house became quieter. Marjorie became older, weaker, but her door remained locked. And Rowan still visited her every month. People in town started asking questions. Why does your husband spend so much time with his mother? Is she sick? Is she controlling him? I always smiled and defended him. Rowan is a good man, I said. He loves his mother. That is all. But deep inside, a small voice whispered something else. Something is wrong. When I turned 80, something inside me changed. Maybe it was age. Maybe it was loneliness. Maybe it was the fear that I might die without ever knowing the truth. On the 5th day of that month, Rowan walked toward his mother's room as usual. My heart beat faster. This time I did not stay in the kitchen. I followed him quietly. He knocked. The door opened. He stepped inside. The door closed. I stood there in the hallway. The house felt different that night. Heavier. Like the walls were watching me. My hands trembled. For 35 years I had respected that door. For 35 years I had trusted my husband. For 35 years I had swallowed my questions. But that night I felt something burning inside my chest. Not anger. Not jealousy. Truth. I slowly bent down. My knees hurt. My back hurt. But I did not stop. I brought my eye closer to the keyhole. I told myself I would look for just 1 second. Just one. The room inside was dimly lit. First I saw only shadows. Then my eyes adjusted. And I saw them. Rowan was not sitting. He was kneeling. Marjorie was not lying in bed. She was standing. In front of a large wooden box. The box was open. Inside it, I saw something that did not belong in a mother's bedroom. Something that made my blood turn cold. I opened my mouth to scream. But no sound came out. The world spun. The hallway disappeared. And the last thing I remember was the sound of the door opening from inside the room. When I woke up on the floor, Rowan was standing over me. His face was pale. His eyes were full of fear. "Lara," he whispered. "Did you see anything?" I looked at him. And for the first time in my life, I realized I did not know the man I had married. Because what I saw through that keyhole was not just a secret. It was something that could destroy our family forever. And I knew from that moment on, that my life would never be the same again. If you want to know what I saw inside that room, make sure you stay with me for the next chapter. Like this story, share it, and subscribe so you do not miss what happens next. Because what was hidden behind that door was only the beginning. Rowan kept staring at me as if I were a stranger who had walked into his life by mistake. "Did you see anything?" he asked again. His voice was soft, but there was fear inside it. I looked at him from the floor. For a moment I thought of lying. I thought of smiling and saying no. I thought of pretending that everything was normal. But my heart refused to cooperate. "I do not know," I whispered. Felt dizzy. Rowan helped me up slowly and guided me to the living room. He made me sit on the couch. He brought a glass of water. His hands were shaking. Marjorie did not come out of her room. The door remained closed. That night, Rowan did not go back to her room. He stayed in the living room with me. But we did not talk. We did not touch. We did not look at each other. We listened to the ticking of the clock on the wall. Every sound felt louder than usual. When morning came, I pretended to be normal. Cooked breakfast. Rowan ate quietly. Marjorie did not come out. She usually came out late in the morning, but that day her door stayed closed. I watched Rowan secretly. He kept looking toward the hallway. He kept checking the time. He kept opening his mouth as if he wanted to speak, then closing it again. That day, I did something I had never done before. Followed him. In the afternoon, Rowan went outside to fix something in the garage. I walked slowly toward the hallway. My heart was beating fast. Marjorie's door was closed. But this time I did not stop. I stood in front of it. For 35 years, this door had controlled my life. I raised my hand. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again. Still no answer. I turned the knob. Did not move. I leaned closer. Marjorie, I called softly. Are you okay? Silence. For a moment I felt afraid. What if she was sick? What if something had happened to her? But deep inside, I knew that fear was not the real reason my hands were shaking. I went back to the kitchen before Rowan came in. That night I could not sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the wooden box. I saw Rowan kneeling. I saw Marjorie standing like a judge. But I could not clearly remember what was inside the box. My mind felt like a broken mirror. The next 5th day came faster than I expected. I started counting the days without meaning to. 4 days. 3 days. 2 days. On the morning of the 5th day, Rowan barely spoke to me. He did not eat breakfast. He did not read the newspaper. He just sat quietly, staring at the floor. Marjorie came out of her room for the first time in days. She walked slowly, leaning on her cane. Her eyes met mine. For a second I felt something strange. Not hatred. Not kindness. Something like pity. That scared me more than anger. In the evening, Rowan walked toward her room again. But this time I did not stay in the kitchen. I followed him openly. He stopped in front of the door. He turned around and saw me. Lara, he said softly. Go back to the living room. Why? I asked. He looked at me for a long time. Because this is not your place, he said. His words felt like a slap. Not my place. After 35 years of marriage, after raising his children, after cooking his meals, after washing his clothes, after sharing his bed, this was not my place. Rowan knocked. Marjorie opened the door. She looked at me directly. For the first time in decades, she spoke to me clearly. Lara, she said. Some doors are not meant to be opened by wives. Then she closed the door. I stood there alone in the hallway. My hands were cold. My chest felt tight. That night I made a decision. I would no longer be a quiet woman. I would no longer be the wife who looks away. I would find out the truth. No matter the cost. The next morning I called my daughter Lyra. Lyra lived in California with her husband and 2 children. Mom, is everything okay? She asked. I hesitated. Then I said something I had never said before. Lyra, I think your father is hiding something from me. There was silence on the phone. Dad? She asked. What kind of thing? I do not know yet, I said. But I feel it is big. Lyra laughed softly. Mom, Dad is boring. The biggest secret he probably has is an old hobby. I wanted to believe her. But my heart knew better. That afternoon I started looking around the house. Not like a wife. Like a stranger. I opened old drawers. I checked boxes in the attic. I looked at dusty shelves in the basement. Most things were normal. Old photos. Children's toys. Letters from relatives. Then, in the basement I found something strange. Small locked suitcase. It was old and worn. I had never seen it before. Touched it. It was heavy. My hands trembled as I tried to open it. Of course. That night, Rowan noticed that I was quiet. You seem tired, he said. Smiled. Just old age, I replied. But inside my mind was racing. The suitcase. The box in Marjorie's room. The monthly ritual. They were connected. Felt it. Days passed. I waited. I watched. I listened. One evening Rowan fell asleep early. Marjorie was already in her room. The house was quiet. I stood in the hallway, staring at her door. For the first time in my life, I felt something stronger than fear. Curiosity. I walked slowly toward the door. I knelt down. I looked through the keyhole again. This time the room was brighter. Marjorie was sitting on her bed. The wooden box was open again. Rowan was not there. She was talking. Not to someone in the room. But to something inside the box. Her voice was low, almost gentle. You must never tell her, she said. If she finds out, everything will fall apart. My heart froze. Tell her what? I leaned closer. My eye pressed against the keyhole. And then I saw it clearly this time. Inside the wooden box was not jewelry, not money, not letters. It was something alive. Something that should not have been there. Gasp. The floor creaked under my feet. Marjorie suddenly turned her head toward the door. Her eyes met the keyhole. I felt her looking straight at me. In that moment, I realized that the secret behind that door was far more dangerous than I had imagined. And I knew that once I uncovered it, there would be no way back. I stepped back slowly from the door. My heart was beating so loudly that I thought the whole house could hear it. For a moment I did not move. I did not breathe. I did not think. I felt like a child who had seen something she was not supposed to see. Behind the door, I heard Marjorie's footsteps. She was walking closer. I turned and walked away quietly, forcing my legs to move even though they felt weak. I returned to my bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. My hands were shaking. Something alive. That was the only thought in my mind. What kind of thing could a mother hide in a wooden box for decades? Pet. Well, a secret child. Impossible. A memory. Memories are not alive. I lay down but sleep refused to come. I stared at the ceiling until morning. When the sun rose, I went to the kitchen as usual. Rowan was already there drinking coffee. He looked tired. Did you sleep well? Yes. He nodded. It was a lie. Marjorie did not come out of her room that morning. Rowan kept glancing at the hallway. His eyes were full of worry. That day, I watched him more closely than ever. For the first time in my life, I began to see my husband differently. I remembered small things from the past. How he avoided certain questions. How he hated taking family photos. How he never talked about his childhood. How he always changed the subject when I asked about his father. I realized that I had spent most of my life loving a man I did not truly know. In the afternoon, I went to the basement again. The locked suitcase was still there. I touched it once more. This time I did not pull my hand away. I sat on the floor beside it. 35 years. That was how long I had been patient. That was how long I had trusted. Maybe patience had become my prison. That evening something unexpected happened. Rowan knocked on my bedroom door. Lara, he said softly. Can we talk? I looked at him. For years, he had avoided serious conversations. Now he was asking for one. He nodded. He sat on the chair across from me. For a while he said nothing. Then he spoke. You looked at the door, didn't you? Yes. My heart stopped. I did not answer immediately. I looked at his face. He was not angry. He was afraid. Rowan, I said slowly. What is behind that door? He looked down at his hands. Nothing you need to worry about, he replied. I laughed softly. It was not a happy laugh. For 35 years I have not worried, I said. Have not asked. I have not complained. I have not interfered. I leaned forward. But now I am 82 years old, Rowan. I do not have time left for secrets. He swallowed hard. His lips trembled. Lara, he said. Some truths destroy families. I looked at him. Some lies destroy them too, I replied. He did not answer. That night, he did not go to his mother's room. He stayed in the living room, staring at the television without watching it. Marjorie did not come out. The house felt tense, like it was waiting for something. Days passed. The 5th day came again. But this time something was different. Rowan did not knock on Marjorie's door. He stayed in the kitchen. Marjorie opened her door by herself. She stood in the hallway and looked at Rowan. Her eyes were sharp. Why are you late? She asked. Rowan looked like a child caught doing something wrong. I was busy, he said. Marjorie looked at me. Her gaze was heavy. Then she turned and walked back into her room. Rowan followed her. The door closed. I stood in the hallway again. But this time I did not kneel. I walked closer to the door. I placed my hand on it. My heart was beating fast. Inside the room I heard voices. Not whispers. Not silence. Arguments. You are losing control, Marjorie said. I am tired, Rowan replied. Cannot keep doing this forever. You have no choice, she said. If she finds out, everything will end. Everything will end. Those words echoed in my mind. I leaned closer. My ear touched the door. Rowan's voice sounded broken. She is my wife, he said. She deserves to know something. Marjorie laughed softly. Wives do not need to know everything, she said. Sometimes love means silence. My chest tightened. Love means silence. Was that what my marriage had been? Silence instead of truth. Suddenly I heard something else. Sound. Not a voice. Not footsteps. Soft movement. Like breathing. Froze. My hand slowly moved toward the keyhole. I told myself not to look. But my body did not obey me. Bent down. I looked through the keyhole again. This time I saw everything clearly. The wooden box was open. Inside it was not an object. It was a little girl. She looked about 10 years old. Her hair was pale blonde. Her eyes were wide. She was sitting quietly inside the box as if it were normal. Rowan was kneeling in front of her. Marjorie was standing beside him. The girl looked up at Rowan and smiled. "Daddy," she said softly. My world collapsed. I felt my knees give way. I grabbed the wall to stop myself from falling. "Daddy." That word pierced my heart like a knife. Rowan did not have a daughter that age. Our children were grown. So who was she? Who was that little girl? And why had she been hidden in a box in his mother's room? Before I could think further, the girl suddenly turned her head. Her eyes moved toward the door, toward the keyhole, toward me. Her smile slowly disappeared. Her eyes widened. She opened her mouth. And she spoke one word that shattered my soul. In that moment, I knew that the secret I had uncovered was not just about my husband. It was about my entire life. And I realized that the woman I thought I was might not be who I had always believed. The word stayed in the air long after her lips stopped moving. I felt like the walls were closing in on me. My legs could no longer hold my body. I stepped back slowly, one step at a time, until my back touched the cold wall of the hallway. Inside the room, I heard Rowan stand up quickly. "Did you hear something?" he asked. Marjorie's voice came sharp and fast. "No," she said. "She is probably asleep. Probably asleep." As if I were nothing. As if my life did not exist. I returned to my bedroom without making a sound. I closed the door gently. I sat on the bed. My mind was screaming questions. Who is that girl? Why did she call Rowan daddy? Why did she call me mom? Why was she hidden like a secret object? I pressed my hands against my chest. My heart felt too big for my body. That night I did not sleep. I watched the ceiling until morning, replaying the scene again and again. The girl's face, her voice, her eyes. There was something familiar about her. Something that frightened me even more. When morning came, Rowan acted like nothing had happened. He kissed my forehead lightly before going to work. Marjorie came out of her room and walked past me without looking at me. There was no sign of the girl. No sound. No evidence. I felt like I was losing my mind. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe age was playing tricks on me. But deep inside I knew what I saw was real. That afternoon I took out old family albums. I spread them on the dining table. I looked at photos of our children when they were young. I studied their faces carefully. Then I remembered something. A memory I had buried long ago. 40 years ago, when I was pregnant with my second child, something strange had happened. I had lost the baby. That was what the doctors told me. They said it was a miscarriage. They said the baby could not survive. I remembered lying in the hospital bed, weak and dizzy. I remembered Rowan holding my hand. I remembered Marjorie standing near the door, watching me silently. They told me the baby was gone. I cried for weeks. I blamed my body. I blamed myself. But what if the baby was not gone? What if she was alive? What if that little girl in the box was the baby I thought I had lost? The thought made my head spin. That evening I confronted Rowan. We were alone in the living room. The television was on, but neither of us was watching it. "Rowan," I said quietly. He turned to me. "Yes." I swallowed hard. Do you remember the baby I lost 40 years ago? His face changed instantly. The color drained from his cheeks. Lara, he said softly. Why are you bringing this up now? Because I need to know the truth, I replied. He looked away. The doctor said the baby died, he said. I leaned forward. Look at me, Rowan. Slowly he turned his head. His eyes were full of something I had never seen before. Guilt. Was the baby really dead? Yes. He did not answer. Rowan, I repeated. His lips trembled. Lara, he whispered. Some things are better left buried. Buried. That word hit me like thunder. I stood up. No, I said firmly. I have buried enough things in my life. I am tired. Rowan stood up too. His voice became louder. You do not understand, he said. If you open this door, you cannot close it again. I looked at him. I have lived behind a closed door for 35 years, Rowan, I said. I am not afraid anymore. He stared at me. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then he sat down slowly. His shoulders dropped. He looked old. Older than his years. You saw her, didn't you? He asked quietly. My heart stopped. Saw who? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. The girl, he said. The room felt cold. I nodded slowly. Yes, I said. Rowan closed his eyes. For a moment, he looked like he wanted to disappear. Then he spoke. Her name is Nova, he said. Nova. The name felt strange on my tongue. Who is she? Asked. Rowan looked at me. His eyes were wet. She is your daughter, he said. The world stopped. My ears rang. My body felt light. My daughter. But how? Rowan continued speaking, his voice shaking. The doctors lied, he said. Your baby did not die. She was born alive but very weak. They said she might not survive. I remembered the hospital room. The smell of medicine. The white walls. Marjorie's silent eyes. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered. Rowan looked down. My mother made the decision, he said. She said you were too fragile. She said losing the baby would break you. She said it was better if you believed she was gone. Tears rolled down my cheeks. So you hid my child from me? Yes. Rowan nodded slowly. For 40 years, he said. 40 years. Felt like screaming. I felt like tearing the house apart. I felt like falling on the floor. But I did none of those things. I just stood there, shaking. Where is she now? Asked. Rowan hesitated. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. She has never left this house. My legs gave way. I sat down heavily on the couch. Never left this house. For 40 years, my daughter had been living in my own house. Hidden from me. Hidden like a secret. Hidden like a shame. Why? I whispered. Rowan looked at me. Because my mother believed something, he said. What? Asked. He swallowed hard. She believed that if you met Nova, your life would change forever. I laughed bitterly. It already has, I said. Rowan looked at me with fear. Lara, he said softly. You do not understand. Understand what? He leaned closer. He lowered his voice. Nova is not like other children. My heart tightened. What do you mean? Asked. Rowan stared at me. His eyes were full of terror. Because he said slowly. Nova knows things she should not know. And she remembers things that never happened. In that moment, I realized that the truth was far bigger than a hidden child. And I knew that meeting Nova face to face would change everything I believed about my life, my husband, and myself. When Rowan finished speaking, the house felt strangely quiet. Nova is not like other children. His words stayed in my mind like a storm that refused to leave. I looked at him. For years, I had seen Rowan as a calm, logical man. A mechanic who fixed engines, not mysteries. But now, his eyes looked like the eyes of someone who had lived with fear for decades. What do you mean she is not like other children? I asked softly. Rowan rubbed his face with his hands. Lara, he said. There are things about Nova that I cannot explain. My chest tightened. Explain them anyway, I said. He hesitated. Then he nodded slowly. When Nova was born, he said. The doctor said she was weak, but her mind was strange. Strange how? asked. Rowan looked toward the hallway, as if he was afraid someone was listening. When she was 3 years old, he said. She started talking about things that happened before she was born. He frowned. What kind of things? Rowan swallowed hard. She talked about you, he said. About your childhood. About things even I did not know. My heart skipped. That is impossible, I whispered. That is what my mother said too, Rowan replied. But Nova kept talking. He paused. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. She once told us that she remembered being inside you. The room spun around me. Remembered being inside me. Rowan continued. She described the hospital room where you lost her. She described your tears. She described the way you begged the doctors not to take her away. I felt like someone had opened my chest and poured ice inside. How could a child know that? That is why my mother panicked, Rowan said. She believed Nova was not just a child. She believed she was something else. Something else. I did not like the sound of those words. So instead of telling me the truth, I said slowly. You both decided to hide my daughter from me. Rowan nodded. My mother said that if you met Nova, you would never be the same again, he said. She said you would lose your mind. I laughed softly. And you believed her. Rowan looked at me with shame. Yes, he said. I stood up. For 40 years, I said. I cried for a child I thought I lost. For 40 years I blamed my body. For 40 years I felt empty. My voice broke. And all this time my daughter was alive in my own house. Rowan looked at me, unable to speak. I walked toward the hallway. Lara, Rowan said quickly. Where are you going? To see my daughter, I replied. He jumped up. No, he said, grabbing my arm. Not now. Pulled my arm away. Not now. Yes. My voice was calm, but inside me something was burning. When then? After I die. Rowan looked terrified. You do not understand what you are about to face, he said. I looked at him. Rowan, I said quietly. I have faced loneliness, betrayal, silence, and old age. There is nothing behind that door that can scare me more than what you have already done. He stared at me. For a long moment he did not move. Then slowly he let go of my arm. Do not blame Nova for anything, he said. He nodded. I walked down the hallway. Every step felt heavy. Marjorie's door was closed. For decades, that door had been the wall between me and my own child. I raised my hand. I knocked. Silence. I knocked again. Still silence. Marjorie, I said firmly. Open the door. Inside I heard footsteps. Slow ones. Then the sound of the lock turning. The door opened. Marjorie stood there. Her face was old, wrinkled, but her eyes were sharp. You should not be here, she said. I looked at her. For 40 years, I said. You watched me cry for my dead child. You watched me blame myself. You watched me age in silence. My voice trembled. And you never said a word. Marjorie did not answer. I stepped forward. I'm going inside, I said. She looked at me. For a moment I thought she would stop me. But then she stepped aside. The room smelled of old wood and medicine. It was larger than I had imagined. The wooden box was in the center of the room. I walked slowly toward it. My heart was pounding. I felt like I was walking toward a miracle and a nightmare at the same time. Inside the box, someone was sitting quietly. A girl. She looked up. Her eyes met mine. They were the same color as mine. The same shape. The same sadness. She smiled softly. Hi, she said. My knees almost gave way. My daughter. Nova. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. She looked at me carefully. You finally came, she said gently. Tears streamed down my face. Nova, I whispered. She tilted her head. Her voice was calm, too calm for a child. I was wondering how long it would take you to find me. Her words felt strange. Not angry. Not emotional. Just factual. I stepped closer. Why were you hidden from me? I asked softly. Nova looked at Marjorie. Then she looked back at me. Because they were afraid, she said. Afraid of what? I asked. Nova stared into my eyes. Her gaze was deep. Too deep for a child. Afraid of the truth, she said. My heart tightened. What truth? Nova leaned forward slightly. Her voice became softer. So soft that it felt like a whisper inside my mind. Mom, she said. You were never supposed to lose me. The room felt cold. And in that moment, I realized that this story was not just about a hidden child. It was about something that had been taken from me long ago. Something that had been stolen from time itself. Nova's words stayed inside me like a quiet earthquake. You were never supposed to lose me. For a moment I forgot how to breathe. I looked at her face. She looked like a child, but her eyes carried the weight of someone much older. Rowan stood behind me, silent. Marjorie watched us like a guard watching prisoners. I stepped closer to Nova. My hands trembled. Can I touch you? I whispered. Nova nodded slowly. I reached out and held her hand. Her skin was warm. Real. Not a dream. Not a ghost. My daughter was alive. A sound escaped my throat. Half cry, half laugh. For 40 years I had believed she was gone. For 40 years, I had carried an invisible wound in my heart. And now she was standing in front of me. But joy was not the only feeling inside me. Anger rose slowly. I turned to Rowan. Why? I asked. My voice was quiet, but it carried pain. Why did you let this happen? Rowan could not look at me. I was young, he said softly. I was afraid of my mother. She controlled everything. I looked at Marjorie. Her face did not change. You did what you thought was right, she said. Right. I laughed bitterly. You took my child away from me, I said. You locked her in a room like a secret. You turned my life into a lie. Marjorie's voice was calm. If you had known the truth, she said, you would not have survived it. I stared at her. What truth? I asked. Nova squeezed my hand gently. Her touch felt strangely comforting. Mom, she said softly. They did not just hide me from you. I looked at her. What do you mean? Nova looked at Rowan and Marjorie. Then she looked back at me. They also hid you from yourself, she said. My heart skipped. Hid me from myself. What does that mean? Nova took a deep breath. Her voice was steady. Do you remember the night before I was born? She asked. I frowned. Memories rushed through my mind. The hospital room. Pain. Fear. But something was missing. I shook my head slowly. No, I said. I only remember waking up after the surgery. Nova nodded. That is because they made sure you would not remember, she said. The room felt colder. I looked at Rowan. He looked away. Rowan, I whispered. What did you do? He swallowed hard. The doctors said you were in shock, he said. My mother insisted that they give you strong medication. She said you should forget what happened. Forget what? I asked. Marjorie finally spoke. Because that night, she said, you saw something that would have destroyed your mind. My chest tightened. What did I see? Silence filled the room. Nova looked at me. Her eyes were gentle. Mom, she said softly. You saw how I was born. Waited. Born how? Nova hesitated for the first time. Then she spoke. I was not born like other babies, she said. My heart raced. What do you mean? Nova's voice was calm. When I was born, she said, I did not cry. That did not sound frightening. Many babies do not cry immediately. But Nova continued. I opened my eyes and spoke. The world stopped. Felt dizzy. Spoke. Yes, Nova said quietly. I spoke the moment I was born. Rowan closed his eyes. Marjorie crossed her arms. I felt my hands shake. What did you say? I whispered. Nova looked into my eyes. I said your name, she said. Lara. My knees felt weak. That is impossible, I said. That is what everyone said, Nova replied. She continued. The doctors panicked. The nurses screamed. They said I was not normal. My chest felt tight. Rowan finally spoke. My mother believed you had given birth to something dangerous, he said. Something that did not belong to this world. I looked at him in disbelief. Dangerous. She is just a child. Nova smiled slightly. Not just a child, Mom, she said. Her voice was not proud. Not arrogant. Just honest. I turned to Marjorie. So you decided to lock her away? Yes. Marjorie's eyes were cold. I decided to protect my family, she said. Protect? You destroyed my family, I replied. Nova squeezed my hand again. Mom, she said softly. Do not hate them too much. I looked at her. Why? Because if they had not hidden me, she said, you would not be alive today. My heart stopped. What? I stared at her. What do you mean? Nova looked at me. Her eyes were deep again. Mom, she said quietly. There are people who were looking for me. The room felt heavy. People. Ooh. Nova leaned closer. Her voice became almost a whisper. They were not going to take me away. They were going to take you. In that moment, I realized that my life had been shaped not just by silence and lies, but by fear. And something far bigger than our family. When Nova said those words, my body froze. They were going to take you. I felt a cold wave move through my chest. I looked at Rowan. His face was pale. I looked at Marjorie. Her lips were pressed tightly together. I looked back at Nova. Who are they? I asked softly. Nova hesitated. Then she answered. People who study things they do not understand, she said. Her words were simple, but their meaning was heavy. I shook my head slowly. This sounds like a story, I said. Like something from a movie. Rowan spoke quietly. I wish it was just a story, Elara. He sat down on the chair near the wall. His hands trembled. The night Nova was born, he said. The hospital was not normal anymore. My heart beat faster. What do you mean? Rowan looked at the floor. 2 men came to the hospital, he said. They did not look like doctors. They did not wear uniforms. Marjorie nodded slowly. They showed strange documents, she said. Documents that no one could question. They said they were from a special research group. Felt dizzy. Research group. Rowan continued. They asked about the baby who spoke at birth, he said. They asked about you. They asked about your family history. My hands clenched. What did they want? Marjorie answered. They wanted to take the baby, she said. And they wanted to observe the mother. Observe me. Rowan nodded. They said you might be the key, he said. They said Nova was not an accident. They said something in your bloodline created her. I felt my breath become shallow. Bloodline. I was just a librarian from a small town. There was nothing special about me. Or so I thought. Nova looked at me gently. Mom, she said. You have always been special. I laughed softly. Special. I spent my life cooking, cleaning, and raising children. Nova shook her head. That is not all you are, she said. I looked at her. Her words scared me more than comforted me. Rowan continued his story. My mother panicked, he said. She believed if they took Nova, they would never give her back. Marjorie spoke. I told them the baby died, she said. I bribed a nurse. I forced the doctors to change the records. My chest tightened. So you erased my child from existence? Yes. Marjorie did not deny it. Yes, she said. Rowan added. We took Nova home secretly, he said. My mother locked her in that room. She said it was the only way to protect her. Protect her from who? From them, Rowan said. I felt anger rise inside me. But instead of shouting, I felt tired. 40 years. 40 years of lies. I turned to Nova. How did you live like this? I asked softly. Nova smiled faintly. I read books, she said. I listened to music. I watched the world through the window. My heart broke. She had lived like a prisoner in her own home. Did you hate us? I asked. Nova shook her head. No, she said. I understood why they were afraid. Her calmness frightened me. No child should understand such things. Rowan looked at her with guilt. We tried to give you a normal life, he said. Nova looked at him. Normal? She asked gently. Rowan had no answer. I looked at Nova again. Why did you call me Mom through the keyhole? I asked. Nova smiled softly. Because I have always known you were listening, she said. My heart skipped. You knew. Yes, she said. She looked at me. Mom, she continued. I have been waiting for you for a very long time. Tears filled my eyes. Waiting for me. Yes, she said. Because the truth could not stay hidden forever. I felt a strange fear. What truth? Nova looked at Rowan and Marjorie. Then she looked back at me. Mom, she said quietly. I did not just come into this world by accident. My chest tightened. What do you mean? Nova's voice became lower. Came back. The room went silent. Came back. Came back from where? Nova looked into my eyes. Her gaze was calm. To come. Mom, she said softly. Have lived before. In that moment, I realized that the secret behind Marjorie's door was not just about a hidden child. It was about something that challenged everything I believed about life, death, and reality. And I knew that once Nova told me the full truth, my life would never be the same again. When Nova said those words, I felt my soul tremble. Have lived before. The sentence was simple, but it carried a weight that crushed my chest. For a long moment no one spoke. Rowan stared at the floor. Marjorie stood still like a statue. And I looked at my daughter, trying to understand how a child could speak with such certainty. Nova, I whispered. What do you mean you have lived before? She looked at me gently, as if she had been waiting for this question her whole life. Mom, she said softly. Before I was born as your baby, I was already alive. My hands trembled. Alive where? Nova paused. Her eyes moved to the window, then back to me. In another life, she said. The room felt heavy. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to deny it. I wanted to say it was impossible. But I could not. Because everything about Nova felt different. Rowan finally spoke. Elara, he said quietly. She has been saying things like this since she was little. I turned to him. Why did you not tell me? He looked ashamed. 'Cause I was afraid you would think we were crazy, he said. And because my mother begged me to keep it secret. Marjorie nodded slowly. People do not accept what they cannot explain, she said. I looked at Nova again. What do you remember? Yes. Nova sat down slowly on the edge of the wooden box. Her feet barely touched the floor. Her voice was calm. I remember a house that was not this house, she said. I remember a name that was not Nova. I remember a life that ended suddenly. My heart raced. Ended how? Nova hesitated. Then she spoke. I remember dying, she said. The word felt like a knife. Felt dizzy. Dying. Yes, she said softly. I remember fear. I remember pain. And I remember wanting to come back. Tears filled my eyes. Come back to where? Nova looked at me. You, she said. My heart almost stopped. To me. She nodded. Before I was born again, she said. Saw you. I shook my head. That is impossible. Nova smiled gently. That is what everyone says, she replied. She continued speaking. You were crying, Mom, she said. You were sitting alone in a hospital room. You were begging God not to take your baby away. My chest tightened. She described the moment I thought I had lost her. I watched you, Nova said. And I felt something pulling me toward you. Rowan whispered. She told us this when she was 5 years old. Felt cold. How could she know this? Nova looked at me. Mom, she said softly. Chose you. My knees felt weak. You chose me. Yes, she said. I did not want to disappear. I wanted to be born into your arms. Tears rolled down my cheeks. For 40 years I had believed I lost my child. But now, she was telling me that she had chosen to return to me. Marjorie spoke quietly. When she started saying these things I was terrified, she said. I thought she was a sign of something dangerous. I turned to her. So your fear made you lock her away? Yes. Marjorie did not answer immediately. Then she said something unexpected. Her honesty shocked me. I did not know how to handle something I could not control, she said. So I tried to control it. I looked at Nova again. Did you suffer in this room? I asked softly. Nova thought for a moment. Then she shook her head slowly. I was lonely, she said. But I was not angry. Not angry. No, she said. I understood why they were afraid. Her maturity frightened me. No child should carry such understanding. I walked closer to her. I knelt in front of her. I looked into her eyes. Nova, I said. Do you hate me for not finding you earlier? She stared at me quietly. Then she smiled. No, Mom, she said. You were not ready. Not ready. Yes, she said. If you had known the truth earlier, your life would have broken. Felt a tear fall. My life already broke, I whispered. Nova shook her head. Not completely, she said. Rowan looked at her with confusion. What do you mean? He asked. Nova looked at him. Because the story is not finished, she said. My heart skipped. What story? Nova turned to me. Mom, she said softly. The people who wanted to take us never disappeared. The room felt cold again. Rowan froze. Marjorie's face changed. I stared at Nova. What do you mean they never disappeared? Nova's eyes became serious. They have been watching this house for many years, she said. They have been waiting. Waiting for what? Nova looked at me. For you, she said. My chest tightened. For me? Yes, she said quietly. Because now you are ready to remember. Remember what? Nova leaned closer to me. Her voice became soft, almost like a whisper in my mind. Mom, she said. There is something about your past that you still do not know. I felt my heart pound. What is it? Nova looked toward the door. Then back at me. The day you thought you lost me, she said. Something else happened in that hospital. My breath stopped. What happened? Nova held my hand tightly. Her voice was steady. Mom, she said slowly. You did not just give birth to one child that night. The world around me collapsed. Not one child. Then how many? Nova looked into my eyes. Her answer came softly. And in that moment, I realized that the secret behind that locked door was far bigger than I had ever imagined. And I knew that the next truth would destroy everything I thought I knew about my life. The word echoed inside my head like a bell that refused to stop ringing. 2 children. My hands began to shake. I looked at Nova. I looked at Rowan. I looked at Marjorie. No one spoke. The silence felt louder than any scream. What do you mean 2? I whispered. Nova did not look away from me. That night, she said softly. You were carrying twins. My chest tightened. Twins? Yes, she said. You gave birth to 2 babies. Felt dizzy. I remembered the hospital bed. Pain. The bright lights. The doctor's voices. But I remembered only one baby. They told me only one baby existed. Rowan finally spoke. Alara, he said quietly. We thought it was better if you did not know. Better. I looked at him. My voice trembled. Better for who? He could not answer. Marjorie stepped forward. The second baby was different, she said. Different how? My heart beat faster. Different in a way that scared people, she said. I stared at her. What happened to the second child? Marjorie looked at the floor. Rowan closed his eyes. Nova held my hand tightly. Mom, she said gently. The second baby did not stay. Did not stay. My throat felt dry. Where did the second baby go? Nova hesitated. Then she spoke slowly. They took him. The room spun. Who took him? Nova looked at me. The same people who wanted me, she said. My chest felt like it was tearing apart. So I had 2 children. One hidden in my house. And the other taken away by strangers. For 40 years. I felt anger rise inside me like fire. Rowan, I said softly. He looked up. Why did you let them take my child? His eyes were full of tears. I was afraid, he said. They said if we refused, they would destroy our family. They said they would take both children. Marjorie spoke. I chose the lesser evil, she said. Lesser evil. I laughed bitterly. You chose to sacrifice one of my children, I said. Marjorie did not answer. Nova squeezed my hand again. Mom, she said softly. Do not blame them too much. I looked at her. How can I not blame them? Nova looked at me. Because if they had not done what they did, she said, you would not be alive today. Again those words. You would not be alive today. Felt fear. What does that mean? Nova looked into my eyes. Mom, she said quietly. The second child was not just taken. My heart beat faster. Then what happened to him? Nova took a deep breath. Her voice became heavy. He grew up. I stared at her. Where? Nova's gaze became distant. In a place where they study children like us, she said. Children like us. I swallowed hard. What do you mean like us? Nova looked at me. Mom, she said softly. You and I are not ordinary. The room felt unreal. I had lived my life believing I was ordinary. But now everything was falling apart. Rowan spoke quietly. Nova and her brother were not like other babies, he said. They showed signs that doctors could not explain. What signs? Marjorie answered. They were born awake, she said. They looked at people like adults. They did not cry. Felt cold. And the boy? Where is he now? Asked. Nova looked at me. Her eyes were full of something I could not name. Mom, she said slowly. He is alive. My heart jumped. Alive. Yes, she said. For 40 years my son had been alive somewhere in the world. A son I never knew. A son I never held. A son taken away from me. My voice trembled. Does he know about me? Nova shook her head. No, she said. He was raised differently. Differently how? Nova hesitated. Then she spoke. He was taught to forget you. I felt pain cut through my chest. Forget me. Rowan whispered. They wanted to erase his past. My hands clenched. Why? Nova looked at me. Because he is dangerous, she said. Dangerous. Felt fear. Dangerous to who? Nova stared into my eyes. Dangerous to them. The room felt cold. Rowan looked terrified. Marjorie crossed herself slowly. I stared at Nova. Where is he now? Asked. Nova looked toward the window. Her voice became quiet. He is coming, she said. My heart stopped. Coming where? Nova looked back at me. Here. At that exact moment we heard a sound outside the house. Slow knock on the front door. Rowan froze. Marjorie stepped back. Nova stood up slowly. She looked at me. Her voice was calm. Mom, she said softly. You are about to meet the child you never knew. The knocking continued. And in that moment, I realized that the past was no longer hiding behind a locked door. It was standing right outside my house. The knock did not stop. It was slow. Certain. Not the knock of a stranger who was lost. Not the knock of a neighbor who needed help. It was the knock of someone who already knew this house. Rowan did not move. Marjorie stepped back as if she had seen a ghost. Nova stood beside me, her hand still holding mine. Mom, she said softly. Do not be afraid. My heart was pounding so hard that I thought it would tear through my chest. I walked toward the front door. Every step felt heavy. 40 years of silence. 40 years of lies. 40 years of missing pieces. They were all standing behind that door. I placed my hand on the knob. For a moment I hesitated. What if I was not ready? But then I remembered all the nights I cried alone. All the mornings I woke up feeling empty. All the years I believed I was incomplete. Open the door. A young man stood there. He was tall. His face was calm. His eyes were deep. And when I looked at him, my heart recognized him before my mind did. He looked like Rowan. But he also looked like me. Who are you? I whispered. He looked at me quietly. For a moment he did not speak. Then he said something that made the world stop. Hello, Mother. My legs trembled. I held the doorframe to keep myself from falling. Mother. The word felt unreal. He stepped forward slowly. His voice was gentle. My name is Kale, he said. Oh. The name echoed inside me. For 40 years I had not known his name. For 40 years I had not known his face. But now he was standing in front of me. Alive. Real. I wanted to touch him. But I was afraid. Afraid that if I reached out, he would disappear like a dream. Rowan stepped forward. Kale, he whispered. Kale looked at him. For a long moment, he did not show anger. He did not show love. He just looked at him like a stranger. You are my father, he said calmly. Rowan's eyes filled with tears. Yes, he said. Marjorie walked closer. Her hands were shaking. Kale turned his gaze toward her. You are the one who hit us, he said. Marjorie could not speak. She lowered her eyes. Nova walked toward Kale. Brother, she said softly. Kale looked at her. For a moment his face softened. Nova, he said. They stood facing each other. Two children born from the same mother. Separated by fear. Separated by lies. Separated by destiny. I felt tears running down my cheeks. Cale looked at me again. You cried for me for many years, he said. My heart broke. How do you know that? He looked at me gently. Because even when they tried to erase you from my mind, he said, your voice never disappeared. I covered my mouth with my hand. You remembered me. He nodded. Not with pictures, he said. Not with words. But with feelings. My chest tightened. I stepped closer to him. My hands trembled. Cale, I whispered. Thought you were gone. He shook his head slowly. I was not gone, he said. I was taken. The words hurt, but they were true. Why did you come back? I asked softly. Cale looked around the house. He looked at Rowan. He looked at Marjorie. He looked at Nova. Then he looked back at me. Because the truth cannot stay buried forever, he said. Nova nodded. It was time, she said. Rowan whispered. Time for what? Cale looked at him. Time for consequences, he said. The word fell like thunder. Consequences. 4 years, Rowan and Marjorie had lived with their choices. But they had never faced the result of those choices. Till now. Cale turned to Rowan. You thought you were protecting your family, he said calmly. But you were also destroying it. Rowan cried silently. I know, he whispered. Cale turned to Marjorie. You thought fear was wisdom, he said. But fear became cruelty. Marjorie's voice trembled. I was trying to save you, she said. Cale shook his head. You saved yourselves, he replied. The room fell silent. I felt something strange inside me. Not revenge. Not hatred. Understanding. For the first time, everyone was seeing the truth. Cale turned to me again. Mother, he said softly. I looked at him. I am not angry with you, he said. My heart shattered. You are not angry. He shook his head. You were also a victim, he said. I felt tears fall freely. For 40 years I had blamed myself. But now my son was telling me I was not the enemy. Nova stepped closer to me. Mom, she said gently. You did not lose us. I looked at her. What do you mean? She smiled softly. You were robbed of us, she said. But now we are here. I looked at Cale. I looked at Nova. For the first time in my life, I saw both of my children standing in front of me. Not in dreams. Not in imagination. In reality. Rowan fell to his knees. Elara, he whispered. I'm sorry. Marjorie's eyes were wet. I was wrong, she said. For a long moment I did not speak. I looked at them. I remembered the years of silence. The nights of loneliness. The life of obedience. But then I remembered something else. Strength. I had survived. I had endured. I had waited. And now the truth was finally in the light. I stepped forward. I placed my hands on Cale's face. I touched his cheeks. He was real. Then I held Nova's hand. Felt her warmth. Then I looked at Rowan. Then at Marjorie. My voice was calm. You cannot change the past, I said. They looked at me. But you will live with it, I continued. Not as punishment, but as truth. Cale looked at me. Mother, he said softly. What do you want to do now? I thought for a moment. For the first time in my life, the answer came without fear. I smiled through my tears. I want to live, I said. Not as a silent wife. Not as a forgotten woman. But as a mother who finally found her children. Nova smiled. Cale nodded. Rowan cried quietly. Marjorie closed her eyes. And in that moment I realized something powerful. The secret that had destroyed my life did not end with revenge. It ended with truth. And truth was stronger than silence. I had not won by hurting them. I had won by surviving. By standing. By opening the door they tried to keep closed. And for the first time in 82 years I felt complete. If this story touched your heart, please like it so others can find it. Subscribe to this Grandma Stories channel for more deep, emotional and powerful stories. Turn on the notification button so you never miss the next chapter. And tell me in the comments which part of the country you are watching from. Because every story has a secret. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is open the door.